We are live. We are live. This is an impromptu pontificators. The world is coming to an end.
Bring out your dad. Bring out your.
We were just talking off the air that we're the spreader of bad news, and that YouTube does not like us. So we pretty much crashed and burned last Friday night. So we're going to see if we can tank tonight or today as well.
Woohoo! Just don't say the C word.
Yeah, exactly.
Corona.
Stop! Dang it!
I think that's what did it. Bob and I were talking that because I think we only had like 80 people, and we had been averaging, 200 to 300 people on the Pontificator show on Fridays. Mm-hmm. And I think it is because we were pretty generous with the whole the problem that will go unnamed on the show that Friday.
Voldemort.
That's silly. It's silly. It's so silly that YouTube would be like suppressing content that mentions a topic that is literally the thing that is affecting everybody. It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
It's YouTube, man.
Well, on YouTube, when I'm posting the videos and stuff, it says that they can do those things.
They're a private company; they can do whatever they want. But it's stupid that they're doing it.
No, but they're specifically saying now the virus that will not. Oh, yay! We got the troublemaker in the house, Todd. He's going to start all this mayhem, this insanity.
Hey, Todd.
Todd, are you there? Todd?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. How's it going, everybody?
Hi, Todd.
Hey, Todd, you're live.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone. Yeah, so Todd was the troublemaker. He found this article in Bleeding Cool, and it is basically in a nutshell saying that Diamond is not taking any new comic books. So we have not done this with Pontificators yet, where we just did an impromptu. So if this goes sideways, we have Todd to blame.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, that's a lot of pressure.
What do you have to say for yourself, man?
Yeah,
I'm gonna staying off camera because I'm still air drying. No, I'm just kidding.
I blame it on Florida, man.
How does that air drying?
Air drying. You know what air drying is? Oh.
What did you just jump out of the shower? What?
Yeah. Don't knock it till you try it.
Where's that stuff you're talking about there?
I've done that on a summer's day, but never like end of winter, early spring. So you're a brave man.
It's snowing here, by the way, everybody. We got about 1 inch of snow on the ground.
Wow.
Stopped sticking, but it was sticking for a while.
What is snow like again? Because ever since I moved to Houston, it hasn't gone below, I think, like 40 degrees. So yes. I wouldn't know. Up
here.
Zach, I didn't know you lived in Texas. We gotta do some talking, because my wife and I are talking about potentially moving out of California.
Yes, just do it. I'm not joking. We moved. Let's see. I was in New Mexico, and we were like, we just needed to get out of there because Albuquerque was literally becoming the worst place to live as far as like statistics, like as far as crime and schools and stuff like that. And we were like, we need to get out of here. So we moved to Houston, and within a year, we have made more money. We live in a way bigger place. And we've just been way better off, and not much has changed as far as like our personal routine, but just the life and the economy and everything down here is so good, and the taxes and everything is just like I don't understand why all America's not like this.
Exactly.
To be honest.
Whenever I do conventions in Texas, it's my favorite place, because every place else, this is how the convention goes. They look at your book or they look at your art, and then they kind of look at the price, and then they set it down, and then they think about it, and then they come like, is this price? Is this the actual price? And then you start dickering around. And this is how it works in Texas. They look at the book, they give you the money, and then they walk off. Because the economy is flourishing. You guys are actually making money, so people aren't, in that kind of state of like, well, can I afford it? Should I buy it? Is there something better out there that I want, at the show? They just buy it. And man, I'll tell you, when I saw that, I was like, wow, California cons are not like that. New York shows are pretty good for me just because I don't go there very often. So I don't get too much of that, but I have heard that people are pretty conservative with spending money at those shows as well. So yeah, Texas seems like the place to be.
So this people come in there, they look at this price that you took the time to put on this here, and actually figure out what it is. Is that set in stone?
Exactly.
Well, that was the thing. It's like when I was in New Mexico, it was the same way. It was like I used to do all the New Mexico cons down there, and they would kind of a lot of looky-loos. But if you were selling anything that was more than $20, forget it.
Ooh,
yeah, they're $100 like sort of town where it's like if anything's over $100, no, they're not going to pay that. So it's like $20 to them is big money, and especially since they were charging like $40 to get in. If you think about like if someone just takes out $100, that gives them $60 to go play around with. But so as soon as I moved to Houston, my commission prices literally doubled or tripled, and people were like, "You're selling yourself short for that amount, even with me doubling or tripling my prices."
Well, this is when I had that revelation too. It was that, what is the Houston show? The big show in Houston.
There's the Comic Palooza. There's I think the Comic Palooza is probably the biggest one in Houston.
Maybe that was the show, but I had an agent at the time, so he booked the show for me, and he was helping run the table. So I was charging head sketches. I was charging only $30. $30. I had a freaking line. It was insane. Mm-hmm. And so, we got Chester in. Chester.
Yeah. Whoa. Hey, Art, real quick here. My buddy Yule is in the chat here, and I'm asking to see if he's free right now. He's actually a store owner, so getting his perspective on this diamond thing would be interesting.
Okay. Yeah, we're just kind of BS until we get everybody and get everything situated. But anyways, Chester, I'm telling convention stories. The young lad, Zach, and I are sharing some stories. I forgot. I did this show, Lion's Crazy. And so then the guy that was helping me out, my promoter or whatever, he's like, you may want to charge more for these sketches. And I'm like, well, how much could I charge? And so he like tripled the charge. And I go, why didn't you tell me this before we got this big old line? I still have 2 more days. I got to do all these drawings, and I still have 2 more days. He goes, don't worry. Tomorrow we're charged triple. And I go, well, that doesn't seem fair. He goes, watch. And we did. And we had the same line, and it was crazy. Mm-hmm. So, Texas people spend money. So that is a cool state indeed. So Chester Busby, what's up?
Oh, not much. Just saw you guys stream and thought I'd jump on.
Yeah, we all have flexible time now that our lives have been put on hold. Well, some of them.
I guess this is true. Yeah,
we're actually they announced today that here in Ohio, the entire state of Ohio is going into 2-week mandatory lockdown here, starting night tonight. So all non-mandatory services are chopped.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird because I'm coming out of it and you guys are getting into it. It's
yeah, I mean, they're probably going to end up making you guys. You guys over there in Japan are even stricter than they are here, so you guys might just go right back into it.
Well, I don't know though. I think we're actually coming out of it. I mean, a lot of our services starting to turn back on. The kids are going to be going back to school here in a week. We're basically out of it.
Oh, that's good. That's good though. So, how long were you on lockdown? A month, 2 months?
I'd say a little over 6 weeks, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we're week 2 here. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, I mean, we haven't had any crazy outbreaks. So hopefully everything that they have planned is working and we can get back to life as usual. But hey, Chester, you've been here since the beginning with the Pontificators. Did you see our numbers Friday night?
No.
Disgusting. I thought it was one of our better shows, but I think live we only had 80 people, and since we've been the last maybe month or so, we've averaged like 200 to 300 people. And so, you know how we always kid that you're the one that tanked it. You're the one that always like screws us up.
Demonetize it. Yeah.
Yeah, demonetize. I think it was the actual virus that we're not going to say anymore, because we were pretty liberal with the virus name on that stream. And so I just looked into it because I got a little notice from YouTube, and Bob and I were trying to figure out why this happened. And I believe it's because of the algorithms and the usage of the verbiage, not the verbiage, but the
Yeah.
virus.
No.
Use of Voldemort.
Yeah, no, it's complete and absolute thought policing by YouTube and particularly Google. They're outrageously disgusting. Yeah, I agree.
Because, man, I'll tell you, because we had been building this thing, the Pontificate show is growing by leaps and bounds. And when I saw that number, my heart just sank. I was like, it was one of the best shows, man. We got Bob on the show. We got Joe Thunderbuns on the show now. Like, this is cooking with gas. And then.
Yeah. Now you can't say the word. How dare you? Right. No, I agree. Yeah.
But you know the words we can say? We can say safe space, and we can say
Snowflake.
Snowflake.
what was the Snowflake?
Yeah.
And then Trailblazer. Yeah, we can say that.
Oh my god.
But yeah, that was Marvel's lifeline to the retailers. And we're going to get into the other lifeline that the industry is throwing to the poor retailers. I am going to share the screen, and then we can get into this topic. This is absolutely, we had been predicting this for a while, especially on the Pontificator show. But when you see this as the headlines, I'm sorry, man, it still rocks you. So this is a Diamond Comics distributor. Say no longer taking in new comics. So Bleeding Cool has been informed by multiple senior industry figures that Diamond Comics Distributors is requesting that no more product be shipped to any of its warehouses until further notice. Product already in its warehouse will be distributed such that it can, but after that, they will be distributing no more comics, magazines, books, toys, games, or any other product until further notice. So if you guys haven't heard in the chat, this just Todd Mulrooney brought this to the Pontificator's attention and wanted to do an impromptu. So I think this was a good idea, Todd. Todd, since you've been with this a little bit longer, do you have any comments, any feelings about this?
It does talk about creating some kind of first to digital service, and that's what scared me the most, because I can see needing to create an interruption in your business. A lot of places this big would have business interruption insurance, stuff like that. So that, just to shut down for a while didn't scare me, but to think about creating a new model, that does. That means they knew they were, I don't know. I had always heard they're about 500 to 700 stores away from complete overhead collapse, meaning they just wouldn't be able to sustain the model without the number of stores they had. And if they lost 500, then their overhead was way too high. The number of people that work, the number of support people that they would need, it's just not a model for sustainability. Because it's sort of a niche. Comic books are a niche thing, and everything that they ship are niche items, right? Things that would go in that kind of store. They're not shipping to your Spencers or your Targets or anything like that. They're shipping directly to LCSs and other stores of its like. You might have a card store that has no comics, so maybe you get some things from Diamond. So yeah, that's really scary to see that they're thinking about a different model, because that would mean layoffs, sell off assets. We're squeezing everything into as small a space as we can, and it would mean they're no longer a distributor by virtue of filling a truck up with stuff and taking it out into the to the stores. They're looking at something different, and that's just not I don't know. It's just kind of
it says that they're going for a digital first publication.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, and that could be taken. Maybe you could take that as your comics each week will come out first digital, and then a week later physical. And they might see that might be a way to push people into, well, you might get those people, I need it right away, I need the next issue. And you might build upon something like that. I don't know. I
Well,
always said I always said that I didn't like the digital model because it costs the same. But if
Well,
you
it failed.
But if you were to say, hey, you get all the Batman line books, everything to do with Batman, Gotham, Arkham, on all the related characters, you get all those books for, say, $9.99. Then you might be getting I would say about 20 books. So that to me works, but not one-on-one. $5.99, $7.99 for a digital book that I'm never going to be able to smell. That doesn't.
Yeah, it's like subscriptions, like do subscriptions, like do it like Disney Plus or something like that could work. And I've been saying this for since digital came around, that I think it's the way everything is going to inevitably go. And there's been a lot of, when I say this to people, they don't like to hear it. But I think that to keep the cost down and to get distribution into more markets, get these books into more markets. If you don't have, a brick and mortar, then you can do this. It becomes a global market and a global economy. It's kind of like Zach and I were talking a little bit earlier about the business model that, Goma and Chrono Mechanics are doing, where we're kind of going, through like directly marketing to people and getting it into people's hands, without a brick and mortar or without diamond distributors. This would just be actually eliminating it even further. And I think we've mentioned on Pontificators, which I think is a great idea. I'm telling you, the industry needs to start listening to the show because we come up with some pretty good solutions. And I believe one of them was that make the brick and mortars collectible stores, make those like unique collectible, like high-end stuff, like where they could carry like a lot of like my books, like Black and White and Chrono Mechanics. These are like upgraded books. These aren't like newsprint, inexpensive books. These are kind of high-end books. And so you could start selling the more collectibles there, and then maybe going more digital with people that just want to read the comic books, that aren't necessarily collectors. And then I do believe that the collector market could build too, because a lot of these books will be more rare and they won't, they'll be customized and they'll be collectibles. And then the other ones will just be kind of disposable art form, which is what comics always were. That's why a lot of the older comics are worth money, because no one saved them. They never thought that they would be worth any money. The reason a lot of the newer comics aren't worth any money is because everybody thinks, they're collectible and they hold on to them. So, maybe if we went back to thinking about comic books as more disposable entertainment, and then support the brick and mortars with the more, like basically tailor product towards that outlet, So the only place you can get these books is through these kind of outlets, or like what Zach and I are doing, where you could crowdfund it as a first, form of like basically paying for the overhead, and then, then giving the option to retailers without a distributor, though, without Diamond, without any of those things. So, like people like Zach and I or Alterna or whoever would be dealing directly with the distributors. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole reason why comics were so cheap back then, is because the materials that they were used, because like you said, they were made to be disposable entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking at another article, and it says in here with Geppy is saying that he's basically doing this because of the current situation, and they will resume after this current crisis. That's and he's speaking directly here. This came out a few minutes ago. That's from CBS. Secondary article.
Back to though, like the longer this goes, I think we already lost a couple retail outlets.
A couple of big ones, yeah.
Yeah, recently. So I mean, I'm hoping for the best, you guys. I don't want to make it seem like anybody listening that I don't support the brick and mortars. I love you guys. I love bookstores. I just love going in. My family loves it. My wife has got like, there's a room in the house. It's just bookshelves, you know, like she just loves reading. We love to go into bookstores, but you know, so I don't want to see any of this stuff happen. But this is kind of where things have been leading. And then with the virus, the Voldemort virus, like Bob says, has kind of, I guess, amplified things, moved things along a little faster.
Mhm.
You know, some people say
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I think
viruses
that's where it's
tend to be
going.
Cleansing like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
you
do
can
have
say
the
that.
second article up on Bleeding Cool if you want to share it. This
Okay.
one is directly from Steve Geppy himself.
Okay. So you want to read that?
Sure. Bleeding Cool broke the story earlier today that Diamond Distributor Comics was closing its doors for the foreseeable future for all new products as a result of the not to be mentioned pandemic affecting the comic books industry and everything else. Steve Geppy, chairman and CEO of Geppy Family Enterprises and founder of Diamond Comic Book Distributors, just confirmed the news with the following statement. So let's see what he has to say here. The effects of the pandemic, as everyone knows, the world faces ever-increasing challenges related to the situation, and its effects on the comics, collectibles, and tabletop gaming industry have been felt far and wide. We are hearing from thousands of retailers that they can no longer service their customers as they have in the past, many of them forced to close by government action or restored to in-person or curbside delivery. Interesting. Even those still open are seeing reduced foot traffic in most cases. Of course they are. Some of them have been closed down, simply by the government, right? Our publishing partners are also faced with numerous issues in their supply chain, working with creators, printers, and increasing uncertainty when it comes to the production and delivery of products for us to distribute. Our freight networks are feeling the strain and are already experiencing delays, while our distributor centers in New York, California, and Pennsylvania were all closed last week. Let's see, continue on effects on Diamond. Product distributed by Diamond and slated for an on-sale date of April 1st or later will not be shipped to retailers. Okay, so this is 1 week. For the time being, however, we have been able to develop procedures with our team at the distribution center in Olive Branch, Minnesota, is that, to safely continue fulfillment of direct ship orders. Let's see the effects on Alliance Game Distributors. All right, this is tabletop stuff. Products distributed by Alliance has been shipped from our Fort Wayne warehouses in Texas. Both are closing at the end of the day on Tuesday, March 24th. So that's even quicker. Our path forward. With these changes in our distribution strategy, we will work with our publisher partners to develop programs that will address products already in the pipeline and what will happen when we resume distribution. I think that's important. We will remain open in various forms. I encourage you to let loose your own creativity for the time being. You will be able to replenish your perennials from Diamond and or Alliance, but you should also remember to stock you already have in your stores. Okay, so they're saying get it in this week, I guess. Despite the industry's most immediate needs, we have been and will continue looking toward the future. Okay, when we see stores reopening, bringing staff back on board and getting customers in the door, we are looking at issues like debt accrued due to this crisis, what reduced ordering means for your discount tiers, and the availability of credit to help stores through and after this difficult time. Okay, so they're pretty much just shuttering for the moment, it seems. As I mentioned in my last update, this industry has been one of the greatest joys of my life. Uh-oh, that's not good. From my days as a collector to the retailers today, I and my leadership team have made these decisions knowing full well the effect they will have on all of you, as well as our publishing partners and our own team members around the world. At the end of the day, the safety and security of our team and yours, along with many customers we all serve, is paramount. Again, thank you for the ongoing patience and support. Well, there you go. I mean, I tried to be as succinct as I could. So
Why does this sound like another Hastings sort of situation right now?
right.
Yeah, actually, Yul Carter, the guy that I was talking about, he's a comic book store owner, and he threw out some ideas. He said no more trades except for key storylines. That might be interesting. But one thing that somebody has said in here is that because they're still going to do like maybe this will open it up to where it's more of a comic stores will start carrying like more, the ones that survive will carry more selective product.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You know? So that might be something that has actually becomes a blowback to companies like Marvel who are doing like a flood the market tactic here.
Yeah, well, they have been putting out way too many comics a month. That's true.
Yeah,
But it sounds to me like they're just shuttering until the current situation is finished. That's what it sounds like. I mean,
And then it'll go back to business as usual, which I don't know. I mean, I think this is a great opportunity for this industry to really take a look at itself and how it conducts business, because if something like this can devastate and possibly destroy the direct market, then it wasn't in good shape to begin with.
yeah.
right. If anything, hopefully this will be at least like a canary in the coal mine thing.
Yeah, it's weird to me. As an employer, you have employer markets and employee markets, right? Depending on whether it's who's in power, as it were. You would think that for a long time now, the comic book stores would be the ones in power because the industry is faltering. Therefore, they're the ones that have to kind of make things work on the ground. But it has not been done that way. It has been this insistence upon the owner focused ideas, them just constantly overcharging and pushing and all their little scams and things that Diamond and Marvel and them do together. You would think that it would have been moved this way a long time ago. So for me, I hope when we do see them come back that we see a more strength put in the hand of the comic book stores, because the market suggests that it should be there anyway.
Well, I think if they made the books returnable, if they made the books returnable for retailers, and whatever they don't sell that they can return, then it falls back on the publishers, because they have to evaluate what is shit and what is not. So there will be no more of this New Warriors crap, and there'll be no more of this. It'll fix itself instantly, because the only books that will survive are the ones that are doing well and what people are buying. And that's it, man. The strong will survive. And then, like somebody said, just the flooding, of the marketplace, like Marvel trying to get more of the pie by just flooding the market. They won't be able to do that anymore. They're going to have to publish really, really good, strong comic books, and they're going to have to compete in a more fair way than they are now, because they won't be able to do, like you said, Chester, the schemes and scams. They won't be able to do that, because if those books are returnable, that's reality, man. If the book doesn't sell, then Marvel or DC eats it. So they're going to have to figure out how to get a better product into the retailer's hands. And also for me, a lot of these retailers, I'm sorry, you guys, it's a lot of fun. The comics industry is a lot of fun, but it's a business too. And we need to start thinking about it more as a business. So we all need to try to expand this industry and get it more into the mainstream eyes and into the collective consciousness of the mainstream. If these Marvel films can do it, then why can't comics? But we're just going to have to reevaluate everything from the ground up, because as far as I'm concerned, none of it is working. The only thing that I'm working right now is like what Zach and I are doing, and Todd's even with Florida Man doing, like direct sales. Like we're building these comics, we're creating these comics, and then we're getting them into the hands of the people directly. We're cutting out all the middlemen that are involved. I mean, the only middleman that's involved is like the Indiegogo platform, and that's it. And that's not
Which
that
is
much.
just a cut, right? Yeah,
Right.
And Cecil, that is.
I was going to say
ridiculously inappropriate.
We have arrived.
Sir.
Cecil is in
Very,
the chat.
Very inappropriate, sir.
He just said something pretty damn funny, man.
Oh, what did he say?
He said, "Comic stores, hang in there. Lots of grandkids will be coming into money over the next few months."
Oh man,
Oh my god,
that's brutal but true.
that gets a golf clap for me, man.
Oh, you
Figure out how to get
golf
these
clap.
God.
to let these grandkids know that these comics
That's friggin' hilarious. But
oh,
yeah,
that's-
one thing though, I'm wondering though, is that if this thing goes digital like that, what is this going to spell doom for a lot of these for a lot of these comic book stores, man? Because if this digital thing does catch on, they may just like, well, screw everything else.
Yeah, but
That's
it
why I
hasn't
think
so
they're-
far, right?
well, they haven't really promoted it. I think Marvel and DC haven't really got behind the digital ideas because it does kind of bite the hand that feeds. And so there is such an established old industry that kind of takes care of itself. They just have to break that mold. And what I'm trying to say is between the distributors and retailers, there's always a business as usual.
Mhm.
And they don't really change it up. And they don't want to change it up because usually if you're in a corporate situation, you say, you know what, let's put all our focus on digital first. And it doesn't work, you're going to get fired, right? So a lot of people don't put their necks out in these directions. But and like I say, it's really unpopular. People don't like to hear it. I think somebody in the chat mentioned that they'll just bootleg it. I'm looking right now. Was it David Smith? Yeah, they would just pirate it. But I mean, somehow you'd have to figure out how to put these PDFs out or these digital copies out without them being able to be pirated. But if you make them cheap enough, I don't think people are going to pirate it like that. I think if it's $1 a download or if it's a subscription base, then I don't think people are going to pirate it as much. Because there's always going to be that. I mean, there's always been, you get a movie, you can record a movie, or you buy an album in the day and you could record the album and turn your friends onto it, make your mixtape. So that kind of technology has existed for a long time. But I think if it's a good product at a fair price, I don't think people will mind paying for it.
Yeah, I just can't see buying a digital comic for like full price.
Yeah,
absolutely not. Yeah,
a lot of us really want the book in our hand too, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I want the thing in my hand.
Yeah,
but I'm not talking about either or. Like I said, I think that retail stores we should still make product for them, but maybe think about it more as like high-end collectibles. You know what I mean? So you go there and like collectors go in there and they drop some serious money, and then the casuals, just to expand the market and to get that product into people's consciousness, because a lot of kids don't even know this stuff exists. So if you can make it $1 a download or a subscription base, then you can get these things into kids' hands, and you can do it relatively cheap because there's no warehousing, there's no middleman. It's just between you and the customer. And the thing is, you can make it worldwide within, like, you could, like what I was thinking, how like Disney does a lot of the videos, like the Blu-ray, you click on what language you want to see the movie at. Well, you could do that with the main menu of the download. You could go, you want it in Chinese, you want it in, German, whatever language you want it in. You click on that, and then you get your digital download in your own language. So you can actually hit a world market in a really quick way. You know,
but it's also a possible opportunity for a bit of a fresh start. I mean, honestly, with the brick and mortar, if we can get these companies like Marvel and DC to stop with all their craziness, like the multiple covers, cover B, cover A, D, F, whatever, and stop pushing all this. All their survivability on the store itself rather than the consumer. If we can get, I think, a return policy, like you said, that would be one of the biggest moves that they could do. But if we could get these comic book companies to stop doing these just underhanded tactics that they've been doing for years, right? And keep in mind, we've over the past decade, we've not lost a few comic book stores. We've lost thousands.
Oh yeah.
I'm not exaggerating. This is not hyperbole. That is legitimately what's happened. And it's because these companies been relying upon sucking the life out of these brick and mortar. That's what they've done. And they're not getting these brick and mortar, not getting the return on it because people aren't buying this. So if we could get back to a normal type of relationship between distributor and seller, I think it would help the industry a lot because they would be forced to put out good product. And then in the end, that's what we want.
Yeah. Yule Carter.
Does he have the ability to join us, by the way?
Yule? He can't. He's actually working right now. But he made a good point there. He said that Marvel and DC forced Diamond to make this decision. There will not be a return policy.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something like and Art, I think you were talking about how like it was like all the way back in like the mid 80s when they started deciding that they were going to start jacking up prices.
Jacking up prices, and also when I was working professionally, just when I started, they were doing away with the direct market, like the newsstand, things like not the direct market, but the newsstand, the more visible type of stores like 7-Elevens and supermarkets and drugstores and things like that. And they started going with the sure money, which was the direct sales, which was the comic shop. So the reason they did that is because like the other was a little bit like the newsstands were iffy for them. So they were always returnable, and it took them months to get their money from them because of there was a lot of bookkeeping detail that had to go into it, meaning like that they would ship the books, then that newsstand would have to sell X amount, then they would rip the cover off, send those back to the publisher, and then they would get credited. And then like in the day, our royalties didn't come within a month or two. They came 6 months later because the bookkeeping, the way the process was, it took time for them to figure out and to tally all of these different factors in before they knew exactly how much money they were making and how to distribute that as far as royalties and things like that. So I do understand from like Marvel and DC's point of view that it was probably a hassle and they didn't really know exactly if something was successful or not until like months later. And with the direct market, they were selling them directly to those shops. So those people were paying for them flat out. So then they had cash in hand. It might have been less money than they would have made in the newsstand, but it was cash in hand and they could make things work quicker. You know what I mean? Versus having to wait a long period of time to collect their money and to figure out what they actually made. So I do understand why, you know, the big two did that. But at the same time, they were shooting themselves in the foot because, you know, it worked for a while because there were still newsstands. But the thing is, once the newsstands went away, there were no new people coming into the market. There were no new people buying comic books. And a lot of kids now, I don't even think they know what comic books are. You know what I mean?
That's a problem.
That's one of the big issues. Yeah.
Big problem.
But, and also the whole idea of like again, we were talking about before, comics used to be a disposable medium. So ripping the cover off and sending it back, that book didn't cost that much to make. Nowadays, with like paper costs and those cardstock covers and stuff, man, that's a cost that I don't think that no company would want to eat.
Sure. Right. But you know, for 10 cents a piece, you know, 15,
yeah.
5, 30 cents. Yeah.
What about this though? If this current situation ends up shuttering the brick and mortars, which it could, I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of kind of cleansing of many markets in this current situation. But what if it forces the comic book companies, therefore through Diamond, to go back to putting them in the convenience stores, dude?
I would love that.
Yeah, so would I.
Well, Alterna's already working on something similar like that. Like I said, they're putting them in gas stations and stuff. I can go out here to my local Sheets, and there's a couple of Alterna books on the shelf right now.
Well,
Mitch Breitweiser with a Walmart deal as well.
Yep.
Just case in point, I, went to get my car oil change at the dealership, right? We have a deal with the dealership when we bought the car, so it doesn't cost us anything. So we're just kind of my wife and I are waiting around, that little center that you do your business with, and then they have like air freshener and different little things that you can buy for your car in that little store. And there were Pops figures. I'm not kidding. There were Pops figures in that area.
Yeah.
If they can distribute Pops figures into this, then why couldn't they comic books? How many times have you been into like when my daughter was young, we go to get our car worked on and you were in that waiting room. There's nothing for kids to do. Why couldn't they have comic books there? Why couldn't they even have them at that place, where you could buy a comic book at a cheap price, so it could just be an impulse, like just to pacify your kid for 20 minutes while you're waiting for your car to get fixed. That's how I started. That's what my parents did with me. They bribed me with 10-cent comics, behave yourself and you're going to get a Batman comic. Why wouldn't the same thing apply now? But the thing is, like I said earlier, it's like, it's kind of no one wants to change. Nobody wants to rock the boat. Nobody wants to
really
think outside the box.
Safe space and Snowflake is not rocking the boat, really.
Well,
but I
think
it's sinking the boat.
It's sinking the boat. But I agree, Blue Hill, dude. A CG Pop figure of art would be awesome. I'd buy that.
But here's another thing too, though, man. Like, that's why I didn't understand why with as popular as the Marvel movies were. The Marvel movies were crazy. Send out, make a bunch of old school newsprint comics based off of those storylines that are being done, so that you can make these things for cheap. Send those things to comic stores. Don't even have them sell them. Just put them out there and tell them, okay, charge $1 for these things. You guys keep the money. Here's a way to get into the kids, like we were talking about. Like you said, the old school newsprint comics, you can make those things for 10 cents a piece.
Well, that's how much they used to retail for. They were probably printing those things for pennies a piece.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like they're not taking the opportunities to build the industry, and I think that speaks volumes to where their heads are at. The comic industry itself is not what they're interested in.
No, and it's.
Oh, go ahead, Chester.
No, it's because they've tried to make themselves some kind of elite boutique, a life brand, as it were, and they don't really care. A lot of these people, Sana Amanat and all these other people with Marvel in particular, they don't care anything about the comic book at all. It's more about the Marvel brand, and Disney has no trouble with this because when they bought Marvel, they just cared about the IP.
Right.
So we don't really have. I don't think we have that many people that are at Marvel that are fighting for us. The comic book guys. And this is a problem. And hopefully, in this current situation, we won't see Disney just shutter it. What we'll see is Disney try to let some people expand upon it, like we've been talking.
And
do more like the IDW thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I also think like the cost can come down if they can break into new markets, because I don't know if it's still the conventional wisdom of business, but if you sell more, you can charge less per item. So if they can distribute more and they can sell more comic books, then they can bring down the cost of these, especially if they're more of like a newsprint type version of the book versus a high end. And I think that's kind of what, like we talk on the Pontificator show, that could be a way of looking at it. Make more your high-end boutique books, get those into comic shops, make comic book shops more of specialty, like high-end collectibles. So specific types of people go there, but not necessarily moms, dads with kids and stuff like that. Not that it wouldn't, they, would be excluded from that, but then try to get that, just like a basic comic book version and not inundate with hundreds of books. Like just have core books. Like if it was DC, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Teen Titans, just have a few core books that you sell. So you're not asking, like a poor, like Diamond. That's the thing is like they were, because I in the day I talked to like local 7-Eleven, those guys were ordering from that same catalog. There are thousands and thousands of books in that catalog. How are those people going to know? Like, how is just a casual person that just wants to have something for kids to come in and buy, right? How are they going to go through this catalog and try to order books and know what people are going to want and what they're not going to? So I think that Marvel and DC should have a newsstand business model and then a direct market business model, and be two completely separate type of entities. One is a cheaper version that they get into the mainstream, and then the other is a high-end collectible for the direct market. And then digital, who knows? I mean, a lot of people in the chat are saying they would never work because they would just bootleg the hell out of it. But, who knows? They might be able to figure that one out.
So that's who they need to aim. Marvel's got the True Believers line, which is the reprinting old books for $1, and they're doing it in the old formats with with the old materials. That's what they need to aim that kind of thing at, is those newsstands and stuff like that. You know what I mean? DC's doing it right now with they got the $1 comics,
the 100-pagers.
Yeah.
But they need to establish relationships with these people, and I think that they just don't want to piss off Diamond. They don't want to piss off retailers. But I think, like, if they pledge a business, if they had a clear business model, that, because just stuff that we're talking about right now isn't shitting on one or the other. Like, they can both exist, or all three of these things can exist, because they're completely different products at completely different pricing. So they're not really competing with each other. And if anything, you hook that kid with the $1 comic or the $1 download, at the local supermarket or through their internet, and then they go into the specialty shops. When they get older, they have more money.
I think overall the price just needs to come down. The
price does need to come down. And Skeeth, that's the thing we're talking about, dude. We're saying that they need to start selling to kids again. And I'm over here looking on Marvel.com right now. The main page, website for Marvel. Mm-hmm. There's no mention of anything that's going on. Nothing. Nope. They have, all they're talking about is my diversity and all of this kind of nonsense. There's nothing here talking about the current situation. There's nothing here talking about the debacle of the New Warriors. There's nothing. It's just as if nothing is going on, and yay, my diversity. This is what Marvel is putting out to the world right now. I mean, wonderful.
You're talking about the New Warrior stuff.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying, I'm looking at the website here, Marvel.com, and there's nothing here talking about what's going on. It's all about their agenda. And, the thing we're trying to say is that they need to start selling to kids again. They have completely neglected it. I remember Mike Miller about 1.5 years ago. He did a video where he was going to pick his kid up from elementary school, right? And he just kind of turned the camera on because he was a bit shocked because he was looking at, they had this area outside, and they were like, the kids had all their backpacks set up, when they come in. It's kind of like a locker, I guess. And there was just nothing but Marvel and DC characters everywhere, but yet none of them read comics. And it's like,
at amusement parks, you see them at the mall. Yeah. They all have the Marvel DC t-shirts. They don't know that those are comic books.
Yep, they think they're movies.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, it's crazy that they're not doing that, dude.
And all they could do, the best thing they could do with something like that is a giveaway. You buy your ticket for the next Marvel movie, you're given something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, but like
a reprint or something, anything that would really go, wow, this is kind of cool. They've given us a comic. Pass it on to your kid. Your kid reads it. Maybe you'll hook 1 or 2 fans per 1,000.
Well, didn't they try and I just quick comment is I remember when X-Men, from Fox, way back in the day, I was maybe 12 or something, and it came out, and we went to a midnight, and they gave us X-Men comics in the theater.
Yeah,
on the midnight, idea. And then that was I was like, oh, I didn't even know this was a comic because my stepfather was into comics at the time.
Can you imagine how many new?
But I may have worked on that, Zach.
Can you imagine
all those books, like the direct, like the movie books And then there was a big TV Guide crossover with Spider-Man when the first Spider-Man hit. So I did a cover for TV Guide. And then we did, when the first X-Men movie came out, we did an 8-page comic in TV Guide, Salvador LaRocca and myself. I think I was involved with most of those big.
Dude, can you imagine how many fans they would have brought in if at the first X-Men movie, X-Men film, they had like for $1 or even for free a newsprint version of Jim Lee's X-Men #1. Or for Avengers when Infinity War came out, a newsprint version like the original newsprint version for the original Infinity Gauntlet, first issue of Infinity Gauntlet comic.
Well, Bob, I'll go you one better. The first Batman, the Tim Burton movie, there was a brilliant Jerry Ordway adaptation of the movie. Do you guys remember that? It was a square-bound book. It was beautifully colored, just a beautiful package. It was photographic, like it was all based on the movie. They actually had kiosks at the movie theater, and they weren't giving that book away. They were selling that book. And if I'm not mistaken, that book, this is before the big Marvel boom and before Image, that book sold 1 million copies.
Yeah.
Prestige format book.
Yeah.
Sold 1 million copies. That's not a cheap book. But people were coming out of the movie theater. They were enjoying the hell out of it. And the kids are like, hey, and then there's this kiosk with this comic book that relates directly to what they just saw. You know what I mean? This isn't some BS kind of, connective type of product. This directly relates to what they just saw. It's a comic book done by A-list comic book creators, done the best it could possibly be done in the best format it could possibly be done at the time, and it sold 1 million copies. How do you explain that? Why wouldn't you replicate that as a business model?
Exactly. And Marvel, they had the world by the throat with these movies, and they did nothing.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And Skeeth, you're right, dude. They just actually these trailers for these new books are a bit ridiculous.
Oh God, they are so cringe.
And we just got the New Mutant ones just dropped, by the way.
Jimmy Reyes, by the way, guys, check him out. His YouTube channel. Great artist, awesome inker, man, really good guy. He made a good point here. I think Free Comic Book Day needs to expand out of comic book stores. That's how you get new readers. You put Free Comic Book Day into as many places as you possibly can outside of comic book stores.
No, and you know what else is Free Comic Book Day should be free for retailers. They still have to buy those books. That's such bullshit, man. I'm sorry. Just they call it Free Comic Book Day, but retailers still have to absorb the cost of this thing.
Yeah, that's just the more their tactics. And by the way, I'm looking at the Marvel.com here, and did you know that you can make a lobster corn dog roll?
Oh God, CB.
No. Please don't talk about it. Please don't.
Actually, though, I do like me some lobster corn roll.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, dude. I mean, this whole
you're making comic book Bob.
They you know why they did that though? It's because they saw the YouTube algorithm for what is it? Those do it yourself whatever and the cooking show thing, and how those people work the system so that they get to do make like 4 or 5 of those videos every day, but it's just the same content repeating. Yeah. It's like what Marvel's trying to do to get their audience bigger, but it's just horrible.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but the thing is, Zach, they think they're celebrities. This is the problem. They got their head so far up their ass. They think that they're important, or people are going to be like, oh my God, CB Cebulski is making some Thanos chicken.
Who?
Wow.
Who?
That's what's happening, dude. Yeah,
Who?
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Who? Yeah. I'll tell you right now, CB is not the answer.
Well, he's just the beard persona hominid anyway, dude.
I just every time I see him, all I can think is him sitting there like looking at food like it's porn, like, oh, corned beef. Oh, makes my nipples hard.
That's not a good image, Bob.
He couldn't find his ass with both hands. Yeah. the answer is not going to come from them. I think the industry has been looking at the main two, Marvel and DC, for too long for answers. I still stand by what we talk about on Pontificators, and I've said it on my other live streams, that it's business as usual for Marvel and DC. Those are major tax write-offs for those corporations. So Warner Brothers uses DC Comics as a tax deduction. They have forever. They're just an IP machine and a way to they can hold on to their copyrights and their trademarks. That's all they use those companies for. Marvel, now that they're owned by Disney, the same thing. It's a major tax deduction. They get they can R&D, with the creative people, and then they just write off the rest. They're not interested in trying to move product or to sell product. They make more money just as the tax deduction. And when people say the death of comics, like Marvel and DC, I think it'll probably, Chester was saying, a lifestyle brand. I really do think what they're just going to do is they're going to roll everything over into lifestyle brand. It won't be comics anymore. It'll just be comics t-shirts and beach towels, comics t-shirts and mugs, comics t-shirts and Pops figures. Yeah. It's
Marvel it's not Marvel Comics anymore. It's Marvel Entertainment.
It's a lifestyle
and they've been doing more of that. Yeah, it's really sad. And if you look over here on the website, they have this Comic Hero thing. And I'm not sure, maybe Todd could help me out with this, but it looks like the Comic Hero is taking some ethnic kids and drawing them as comic book characters. Which I don't have a problem with that. I mean, that could be a fun thing to try to connect with kids, but the kids aren't reading your books at all. So what's the point of, highlighting children when these children don't even know what you're talking about? And the whole thing, I don't mind the one of every color thing, but let's be a little more balanced with it, right? One of these hero kids over here is like this Indian girl. I hate to shock you, but Indian people don't read comic books, dude.
Who knows? Why? I mean, but the thing is, don't exclude your fan base. That's what's happening right now. Is they're excluding their fan base to try. It's like an either or mentality. Like, we're gonna screw over this, like our consistent Marvel zombie fan base to try to attract this new fan base. It doesn't have to be an either or. Who are that stupid to limit? Unless it's completely just agenda driven.
It is.
Care about profits.
It is.
I really do think that because Marvel is owned by Disney, they really do see Marvel Comics, their comic division, as just advertisement. And it's just IP. It's just an IP farm, and the comics are just there to keep the IP in the public eye in between films.
It just keeps it in the public. They don't lose the copyright. I don't even think they're thinking that it's educating the people or as an advertising tool. Because if it was an advertising tool, I'll tell you, it's not very successful.
Do you think it's going to get to the point where Marvel and DC are just going to in-house will only be maybe a handful of titles, maybe their five biggest, and then everything else is just farmed out to other
maybe.
It's a lifestyle brand. Like, the publishing division won't be a publishing division. It'll be all of these things. So all out of the same these same offices. It's gonna be a lifestyle brand. They're going to be designing t-shirts and beach blankets and all kinds of shit. I think it's just going to be all under one umbrella, and they're just going to sell it as the lifestyle brand. The writing's already on the wall. This way, as a lifestyle brand, they can possibly, as a plus, maybe as a plus, that if they can get these beach towels into Walmart, or they can get these mugs into Walmart, or this different lifestyle brand stuff into these big chains, Target, whatever, then possibly they can shoehorn comic books in as well.
Yeah, like put one with the beach towel, right? But there's something else we haven't been talking about for a while, Art, and I think it's important. Do keep in mind that last year, Mr. Kevin Feige was put in charge of everything Marvel, including the comic books, and they even came back and clarified that because there was confusion, and they came back and actually clarified that. Oh yes, no, he's also in charge of the comic books. So understand that all these things that have been coming out recently with these new Warriors, Children of the Atom. I haven't looked at the New Mutant thing. I'm terrified. But all these things have been approved by Kevin Feige himself because he's the boss, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think we've said it, Chester, on this. God, we're so good. Pontificators, everybody, every Friday night, is that like what the only thing that makes sense from a business standpoint is that this is agenda driven. They don't care about sales. They don't care about anything like that. That they care about an overall kind of ideology. So the books are just a way of doing that. And if you look at the big umbrella company, you have Disney, you have Marvel, and you even have like LucasArts and Lucasfilm, and you have all these different divisions, Pixar. They're all kind of becoming more of that woke, go broke kind of mindset. They're going more with that far progressive mindset. And I think the only thing that makes sense to me is that overall, like screw finance, screw profit, screw all those things, that it's about trying to, like Obama said, fundamentally change, the way we think about things, hope and change. With the way we think about each other, the things we emphasize, the things we think are important. These guys are trying to change mindset. They're trying to change how you think, how you believe. And then when you hear about Bob Iger's possibly throwing his hat in at some point for presidency, then you start realizing all of Hollywood, all this stuff, this isn't about like the quick money. This isn't about sustainability. This is just about a battle of ideology. This is a bigger picture. They want to start influencing the way we think, the way we operate, like the way it's control, it's mass population control. And that's why this counterculture thing's happening. That's why we're here right now talking about this stuff. What was it, Todd?
No, I didn't say anything.
Todd's got something that we can't talk about.
Oh,
No, it's. But at this point, I mean, I don't even think, regardless of what your ideology is, this situation that we started talking about today, that like the ideology has to be put aside at this point, because these stores are going to go out. Like I said, even if this thing only lasts for a couple of weeks, some of these stores are literally, they're broke.
Yeah.
They're not going to survive this.
No,
They're fast cycle cash, like a dance studio or a nail salon or a restaurant. It's called fast cycle cash, and it's hard to survive a month or two without your cash coming in. Wicked hard.
And I think it was easier for them to look at this thing with a few stores, like I said, the stores are whittling down little by little. What was it? Something like last year it was something like 250, 300 stores went out of business. But I think it's easier when you see that little trip over the course of a year. Now we've got stores literally like, we are operating on nothing. During this situation,
a lot of them are debt to Diamond. That's why when Chester was reading that Steve Jeppy article, a lot of them are in debt for like months worth of comics inventory that they haven't been able to sell. So they're buying stuff on credit. There's 3 comic shops in my area. They're all gone right now, and they all had the same story, that they ended up just getting what do you call that? Where they just accumulated way too much debt. And then, Diamond keeps extending. oh, well, we'll give you next month's inventory with nothing. But they also charge you interest on it. So if you don't pay that extended, cash or credit, then you get in trouble as well. So it's like slavery. It's like these credit cards. It's like 20% interest, $20 on every 100 that you purchase. How are you not going to get overwhelmed? You know what I mean? It's a system that's designed with slavery in mind. And these businesses have just lost any sense of humanity. I mean, my advice to any kid, I tell my daughter, don't get a credit card. And if you do get a credit card, pay it off every month, because you will become a slave to that bank or that credit card. At some point, you will get overwhelmed. And that's what happens with these comic shops, is they get overwhelmed with this credit. And, it's like, oh, well, help. Next month, we'll extend you X amount of dollars worth of credit at 15% interest or whatever the hell it is, then they can't sell through that month. And then it just keeps going and going and going. And before you know it, like we were saying, it's all hand to mouth. You can get buried in a month, in 2 months, 3 months, you're done.
It's insidious, Art. I mean, and they do little things like, for instance, say you get a box of comics at your store, and the shipping company screwed up and it was damaged, and you have a whole bunch of comics that are damaged. Now you can send those back to Diamond, those damaged comics, but they charge you for the shipping.
Yeah, and that's horrible too. They also, you have to pay for ground service, because there's like a warehouse that Diamond has, and they don't provide ground service. So either that comic shop has to drive to the warehouse and pick stuff up, or they have to pay a courier to deliver, So either way, it's costing those retailers to get those books, just to get them in-house on top of buying the books. So there's still an extra cost. So they're either paying an employee to drive down to the warehouse, or they're paying a courier service to deliver those books. Either way, that costs them money.
Yeah, and they did other things too. Keep this in mind. This happened a couple of years ago. I remember seeing this. There was I forget the exact situation, but there were a few stores that had posters up of someone who was unacceptable to Marvel and Diamond, someone who was, one of those unwashed deplorables, right? Mm-hmm. And they were supporting that. They had their poster up, and Diamond basically said that because you've chosen to take this evil route, we will no longer distribute to them. So they are actually forcing people through to adhere to their ideology, or else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Jimmy actually asked a really good question here. Is didn't the comic industry dive back in the 1980s and Marvel was bankrupt, and then the 1990s brought a boom? Do you think we'll have another comic boom in the near future after this? I don't think you can have a comic boom without the stores.
Nope.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, unless it comes from someplace else, which this is, like we started off, this is my hope, is that now it's no longer a hypothetical. It's no longer a slow death. Now we're looking at possibly within the next 3 months, and this is, I don't say this glib with I say this with a heavy heart, because my whole life since I was 5 years old has been comic books. Since I was 5, I'm 58 now. So I don't want to see any of this stuff go away, but I'm getting sad just saying that. But the thing is, hopefully the powers that be are thinking seriously. Like, it's not going to come tomorrow. It's not going to come next. It's not going to come next year. It's not going to come years from now. We're faced with it right this very minute. Like, decisions we need to make now. These are not decisions that you can even put off next week or 2 months from now. If I was Marvel and DC, this is my pledge. This is my hope. This is my, I'm pointing fingers at Marvel, DC. Do a frickin' crossover. Do a Marvel DC crossover right this very minute. Get all your A-list guys on it. Don't give a shit about money. Just put it through, fast track this idea through. And any independents that want to be involved, you want to get Hellboy in there. You want to get Madman in there. Hell, you want to get Black and White in there. You want to get the Gulma characters. You want to get Florida Man in there. Get them in there, man. Have those guys do cameos. Get all this shit happening now, because if there was a time for us all to hold hands which we shouldn't because of the virus. But if we, we should all be holding hands, licking our hands and touching each other. We are the world. We are the people. Yeah, we just need to do this. We need to show unity. We need to give retailers a product that they can sell. You tell me if there was a big Marvel DC crossover right now done by A-list guys that wouldn't sell and that retailers wouldn't be excited and that comic fans wouldn't be excited. F you. They would be. It's still a Band-Aid. It's still a Band-Aid. But you want to go out with your boots on, or do you want to just freaking die like a little wimp? You know what I mean? Like do you want to go out in a blaze of glory, or do you want to go out like still with your pettiness, fighting for this little turf that is getting smaller and smaller as the day goes on? Bullshit, man. This is the time for the Hail Mary pass. This is the time to put your balls to the wall and do something freaking big, man.
Yeah,
this
but
is not the time to be fucking around, pardon my French.
Yeah, well, Com1 C-Book down here makes a very good point, dude, because one thing we've definitely been seeing them do is try to, I've been saying this for a while, there are certain people, not everyone, but there are certain people in various industries that want to see things destroyed. That's their intention. Right. And you're right. This could be an opportunity for them. Absolutely. And as far as another comment up here earlier by Nin Nulus, Japan has manga cafes. Can it be work here in the U.S.? Well, a little bit more about here in Japan. Not only do they sell the books in every convenience store you can find and every kind of store you can imagine, they are also in the dentist's office, in the doctor's office, in the barber shops. They're all those places. You know what else they have other than manga cafes? They also have gigantic manga stores.
Yeah.
Right. So my point being is they're doing everything, and it works.
Yeah, you got.
We're doing one thing, and
it's like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola doesn't sit back and go, well, we could go a year without advertising, we're going to be okay. No, they still, even though they don't need it, they plaster that shit everywhere, man. It's brand recognition. And when I was a kid, we talked about this. It was not the exception. It was the rule. Even your friends growing up had comic books. Even the kids that were non-comic book people had comic books. It was like a rite of passage. When I was a kid, everybody had at least a small short stack of comics. I had tons of them, but they had a small stack, and they were beat to shit because you traded them, you read them, you know what I mean? It was just like I said, it was a rite of passage. You were a certain age, you read comic books. You collected trading, like baseball cards. There were certain things that you just did. I know that it's a different place now, but I said this too. That's why Comicsgate's amazing. We don't talk about, doom. I mean, we bring up doom and gloom, but everything we do is with positivity, and everything we're saying right now is with love in our heart, because we don't want to see this stuff go away. Yeah. We're not negative, but the thing is, you have to be positive. You have to go, we're creating great product. Comic books are cool. Comic books are amazing. When you hear like rock stars, they go up, thank you. They acknowledge their fan base. They heap praise on the people that put them up on the stage. Comic book people do not. They live in the shadows. The industry, Marvel and DC, do not. They're not loud and proud. We all walk around in the shadows with their tail between our legs. Nobody, Stan Lee was the last one, and he hadn't done it in decades. Loud, proud. He broke down freaking barriers. Mm-hmm. Why can't somebody else, man? That guy was everywhere. Mm-hmm. He did commercials for like Gillette razors.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. Like I always tell them, like I've said this on my stream several times. I don't go to the mailbox every day looking for my hater check. I don't like we don't want comics to die. We don't want these books to be crap. We don't want these things to fail. We love comics.
Yeah.
And we don't want to see it die. That's the big problem.
Yeah. And we're faced with it. And that, oh my God, I can't believe we're having conversation right now, man. I mean, when Todd sent me this link I was like, I'm not going to draw today. I need to talk. We need to talk about this stuff, man. We need to get this out there. This is do or die. You know, we just need to start throwing Hail Mary passes. You know, Comicsgate is giving people a way to maybe do a counterculture move, you know, maybe do something slightly different, bring it directly to the people so we don't have to rely on the chain of command, and we don't have to rely on those things anymore. And maybe a new paradigm, maybe a new way of doing business will come out of this. At the very least, those people that are now, their lives are put on hold because Marvel and DC, I don't know if they've announced it yet, but they have to be putting their books on hold now.
Well, yeah, and they've also, like you said, I think they're seeing like this whole thing with people being shut in. They are pushing a lot of their digital books for like a lot of money off, like for like $1.
Yeah, Comixology.
Yeah,
go
ahead, man.
I have a question. Maybe Jimmy can answer too. Can you tell me why, all at the very same time, a lot of the hot guys left? Stuart Immonen, Oliver Copiel. Now I know you see them on covers and they're doing things to pay their bills, but they left the mainstream. Jerome Opina went to do an Image book. Who else am I thinking? A lot of
Sean Gordon Murphy's getting ready to finish it up.
Yep.
A lot of these guys said, you know what? This is not the climate I want to work in, and I'll go do something else. Now,
Dan
granted,
Frega literally just jumped on ZG.
Yeah.
Granted that guys like what was his name kind of came out. Stuart Immonen is doing Plunge, but he's doing something with Joe Hill. He's not doing something with Bendis, or he's not. He actually like said something in an interview once that made me think he was done with the corporate model because he did not like what they were doing to Spider-Man.
Yeah, dude, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Like, I think a lot of them are slowly beginning to move away. They're just not coming out and just like and announcing it. Oh my god,
it's a lifestyle brand.
Jim Ballant, like I said, and even Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, they're getting ready to leave after this next DC project they're doing. Greg's actually, and I've actually talked to him a couple of times. He's getting ready to relaunch Creech.
Oh wow!
So yeah, like he said, that's one of the things on his radar. So I think a lot of them are starting to look away from the mainstream and seeing that, you know, not only because of the impending future of it, but also that we don't have to stay here. We can leave here and be successful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. I mean, I saw the writing on the wall. How long have I been CG? 2 years now or whatever. And I just didn't see. It was more that I didn't trust the leadership anymore. Like if I trusted the leadership, then maybe, but I kind of wanted to put the future in my own hands versus waiting. And you know, you look a year, 2 years later, and where we're at right now, and it's like it was the best decision I ever made. I hope that the fan base will keep supporting us the way they have, and we can keep putting out interesting, fun comic books for you guys, and the sky's the limit. You know, everybody's talking about how to bring down shipping prices, how to lower cost of production value, you know, like production, printing, things like that. And so we can actually have a pipeline that we can get books to you faster, cheaper. And the only way I really see it happening is volume. If we can get the numbers up on these Indiegogo campaigns, and we can start selling more, people like Zach and I, we can bring down these per item, per book prices, because that's the only way it's really going to be able to do it, because there isn't that much profit in it at this point. But if we sold more, then we could pass the profit. We could pass that savings on to the consumer.
I think something has to happen with shipping as well, man, because I think one of the biggest problems with crowdfunding is the shipping.
Yeah, we need better distribution. That's true.
we could if you did more volume, because then as the the different vendor like myself, then we could actually bring down the shipping price because our overhead is less. So we could actually absorb some of the shipping price. You know what I mean? So we could absorb like $1 or $2. So then we could bring that down and then fix that into the pricing of the book. Or we could take that away from our profit. You know what I mean? But if the numbers are there, then we can be more flexible with the pricing of the book itself and the shipping prices.
Yeah, I think I also think that like Chester said, like there needs to be if this situation continues and in the indie scene continues to grow like this, hopefully they'll set up some kind of a network that can help with this thing, like some kind of drop shipping or something.
Yeah, no, we need some kind of distribution. It's it's a major issue because it's costing way too much money. Now we know that there are ways that can be done. You can go in various different countries outside of America, including Canada, which I understand the shipping there has gotten outrageously expensive. And we could just have printers in those various countries and then distribute through that if we had some kind of network. We do need to build this. We've been talking about this for a year and a half, more actually. We just haven't had anyone who has the access and the money step up is the problem. And that, I think that's kind of the problem, is it comes down to the money. We need some of these books to be radically successful, and then for those people to take to heart what is going on with the indie revival and make it a thing. Get on board with it, because that's not what we've seen. We've seen a lot of people take advantage and make money off it, which I have no problem with it at all. I mean, I'm a full-on capitalist, but they're not turning it back in and trying to make this a thing. They're just kind of getting what they can get at the time, which I'm not holding fault. I'm not being negative. I'm just saying we need someone that has the access, has the ability to unify and organize people, and can put the money out to get these things done. If we had some better distribution system, I think the Indie Revival CG would do much better. And Art, if you could bring that picture I put up back real quick.
Well, just know, just to what you just said, there is a lot of behind the scenes conversations like this, Chester, where
I know
a lot of CGers that are talking, and there's different printers and things that we're looking into. Let me, Argo's Creation says, how does Indiegogo Kickstarter comics industry bring in new readers? The American comic book industry, I think, is becoming an old man's hobby. 2 words, model trains. Yes, but this is just the start. People like myself, like bigger name, like mainstream guys coming in, are starting to get, an Ethan Van Sciver and so on, are bringing a spotlight to these things, to this independent way of doing, putting out their books. And so the more you see this happen, the more it will become organized. The problem is that, that kind of lone wolf, kind of punk rock thing that Comicsgate has right now, some of the cool factor might go away if you start organizing it too much and if it becomes too corporate. So that's kind of the fear of people like myself, because I kind of do like the lone wolf thing, but I do understand, like, if you were more as a collective, like a publishing company, then you can make better deals with printers, with distributors, and things like that, because then you can get better prices because you're bringing bulk into it versus just one project or 2 projects a year. So there's a lot of benefits to joining as a collective, but it could potentially go against like what CG and why it's cool, because it is kind of, the new frontier. So what were you going to say, Chester?
Oh, well, there's a couple things. This picture right here, I wanted everyone to take a look at and notice what is missing from these pictures.
Comic books.
Comic
Yeah.
books.
Comic books, right? Because I know what's going on here. You have this one thing over on the right, which has nothing to do with comic books. You have these ladies up top, which are talking about women in comic books. You got cosplay going on here. You got them playing video games, and this one lady down here is also talking about women in comic books, not comics themselves, right?
Right.
And this is a problem because they don't care about comic books. But as far as the other thing goes, Tinfoil Oracle here says we need a Comicsgate website where you pay one shipping cost, but you could fill the cart with multiple books. Well, there have, as Art has said, there's a lot of conversations going on behind the scenes. But we already have one site that's been trying desperately to do these things. It's called IndieCron.com.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right? Pixel Trader has been banging on this for 2 years, man, and he's dedicated to helping the indie revival. He wants Comicsgate, he wants this indie revival to be something, and he's really banging on it. And I suggest that all of you go over and support what Pixel is doing on IndieCron, because he's doing it without making any money, right? This is just a passion project from him. He's showing all the indie revival books that come out, and he's been working and trying to get distribution. He's been trying to do a lot of things. And I think we should use places like that and that kind of passion to support. I think all the big dudes should be 100% on board with Pixel and his IndieCron, because there is a website that's already been around. People know what it is, and it's something that can be focused to as a point to try to work on distribution, to try to work on these things to make the cost more effective. I mean, if we sit here and talk about all these things that need to be done with Marvel and DC and Diamond's absolute atrocity and all the absolute nonsense they do that is killing the brick and mortar, well, you know what? Let's do something about it. Let's be competitive against them. How about that?
Yeah, and Jimmy actually made another good point here about the question that Argos asked about IndieCron and Kickstarter. Kickstarter and Indiegogo reach people that surf the net, and there's a lot more people that are on the net than there are in comic book stores.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I forgot to say, but that's a great point, Jimmy, and thanks, Bob, for bringing that up, because we have that, but also if you have bigger names, so you have Sean Gordon Murphy coming in, or you have a Greg Capullo, or you have these guys coming in, this is what gets noticed. The reason Image Comics worked is because it was all of us at the top of our game leaving collectively at one time. So there was a big void that was left. And then there was like not just one or two, there was a group of people that were putting books out at the top of their game. So, that gets noticed too within the industry. It doesn't necessarily branch out too much, but to be honest, Image did. Forbes magazine did articles. It did break down like media barriers. So those things.
Could you do that today though, man? Because I don't really think, with maybe a few exceptions, you don't have anybody that was on the level that those guys were at. Those guys were the rock stars of the comic book industry.
Yeah, guys that are actually derivatives of those guys, but better. Look at Jerome Opina's 7 to Eternity. He's like a
oh my gosh,
amped up Jim Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he's almost a Travis Charest or Charest.
But you could say his name in a group of 100 comic book fans, and maybe 10 of them might know who he is.
No,
exactly, and that's the problem.
That's the problem. They should know. Don't get me wrong. They should know. They don't.
Niven is a much better artist than a lot of those guys that were.
But that'll get the fans in. That'll get the people in the industry interested. The thing is that when I was a kid, I didn't know who created these books. I was just loving the stories, the adventure. So we kind of need to get back to that, where people, you have your collectors and you have the people that are in the know, but you just have your basic casuals that are just buying. They just want a good action adventure. They just want a good fantasy tale like Goma, or they want like a good, like a spy thriller action adventure like Black and White, or just a complete, humor book, time travel humor book like Chrono Mechanics, or, like Todd's book, which is The Florida Man. What is that out yet, or when is that coming out?
Well, we were gonna crowdfund it in like a couple weeks here. But now,
but
take a breather and see what happens. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Let some things fall into place.
Well, I'm not waiting. I have a black and white Vampirilla crossover book that I'm launching this Wednesday. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, on the Unicron, I just saw Ethan's Cyberfrog Vampirilla crossover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Ethan is the exception, but he's also, he's got the 400K right now, over 400K.
Yep.
And that's getting
right.
headlines, and that's great. And that's what's getting people to take notice. And this is great stuff. It's breaking down barriers, getting people to focus and to look, at what's going on here. 36,659 on Chrono Mechanic.
Yeah.
There you go,
Thank
baby.
You got Billy Shee. It did pretty well too. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, Billy's she campaign did fantastic. I think he's over 150K now.
He's a juggernaut.
Between the two.
Yeah.
And that's his first time doing a crowdfunded book.
And then you have Downcast, which just went into In Demand, and it's at 32K.
Mm-hmm.
So Expendables 200,000. Yeah, I mean these, and even like Titan it at 18,000. You guys 2 years ago, Kickstarter, if you did 1,500 for something like Titan, that was successful.
Mm-hmm.
Now on Indiegogo, he puts out a book, a relative unknown. Puts out a book and does 18K, and still is in demand. So he's still going to make more off that as well.
Yeah.
So this is happening. These are impressive numbers,
Yes.
and it's building and it's growing. So this is still in its infancy. And like to your question, Chester, people are, within, Comicsgate are looking at all these options. How to get the shipping costs down, how to, bring the printing down, all of these things. So
yeah, no, I know, and and I'm happy to see it. I just really would like to see more organization and more going on with it. Just wishful thinking, I guess.
I think what you're going to see is you're going to see groups of people. So there's already kind of groups of people within Comicsgate that feel more comfortable and hang out, right? And that's just natural. That's just a natural how people are. You're kind of more in line with this guy or that guy or whatever.
Sure.
So I think what's going to happen is there's going to be groups of people that are going to be more like-minded and are going to figure out ways to do things and probably consolidate in ways like I know that Eric Weathers with Flying Fortress put advertisements for like little postcard advertisements in his book when it shipped. So he was advertising campaigns outside of his own, ooh, look at that. And so, you know what I mean? Like that is like advertising other people's products or projects. And one of the things that we've been talking about too within Comicsgate is possibly running ads for other people's books. The only problem is you have to know when those books are going to ship. You have to kind of figure out the timelines for when books. So there's a lot of moving parts and things that you need to figure out to do these things, and it's just going to take a lot more organization and for less destructive stuff to happen. Like people leaving, people throwing shade, people, calling other people out. Because if these things are going to happen, these kind of partnerships, there has to be trust and there has to be stability. Otherwise, you can't build on that either.
It's true.
Yeah, I think the synergy is the thing that's gonna make or break this indie scene.
Yeah. And I think as long as it's mutually beneficial, which it is so far, it's going to work. And one of the things I said, why I do believe that Comicsgate is in ways better than Image, is because everybody is sharing their platform by choice. Everybody is helping each other by choice. This is not a corporate mandate. This is not forced. This is not, this is all a decision that we're making, and we're just doing it. Like Like this is good times. Like I've never seen this kind of like-mindedness move in one direction. It might seem like we're kind of going in different directions, but at the same time we're not, because there's one thing that hasn't varied. If you're Comicsgate, we're going to share your projects. We're going to put this out there. We're going to get behind it. We're going to get the word out from the smallest platform to the biggest platform, and this is kind of what we're pledging to each other. And so far it hasn't wavered, and I haven't seen anybody go, I'm not going to put that jerk on my show. Nobody. I mean, cross my heart, man. I have not heard any conversation. Look at that color. Ooh, look at those shadows on the TV.
It's pretty, man.
So I haven't heard any conversation like that, because you can't discriminate either. You have to get everybody on. We have to be equal opportunity. And the good thing about this is the littlest guy in maybe a year or 2 years, he might be the biggest guy out there. I mean, we've seen it with Image. You get like somebody like J. Scott Campbell. Jim Lee gives him an opportunity, gives him a book. The guy just becomes a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Finch at Top Cow. You give the guy an opportunity.
I love Dave Finch.
Yep.
Michael Turner. You give these guys an opportunity, and they just frickin', Travis Charest over at Wildstorm.
Oh my God, man. That dude went from being a Jim Lee clone to being one of the most amazing artists I've ever seen.
Influential artists as well. Yeah, so you get to see this type of things, and it's going to happen in Comicsgate. Rob Willis, we're going to get some people that are just going to stand out, and they're just going to excel, and they're going to bring new ideas. I mean, everything that Zach's doing right now on Goma is all painted, and it's, you don't see books like that. These books can only exist with a creator mind and a creator vision. Chrono Mechanics couldn't exist in the mainstream. They just wouldn't do it, period. And actually the big reason I'm at Comicsgate right now, well, the deciding factor was I tried to bring Black and White over to Image, a company that I thought like they were family, and Eric Stevenson never returned any of my emails. So I was like, I want to put Black and White out. What do I do? Opportunity came with EVS, and I took it. So
well, they're not interested in books like that. They're looking for the next Walking Dead.
Yeah, but the thing is, it started there. You know what I mean? Like I know, like,
man.
I said family. I was like, family. Even Chrono Mechanics started at Image Comics. Like I just figured, family. They're gonna take you back in, with open arms.
But I also think that's another reason. Speaking of Walking Dead, that's another reason why I think a lot of creators are leaving the mainstream and going to smaller platforms like in the Image or self-publishing. Is they're looking for to take their work and turn it into something that's not comics. They're looking to, like I said, they're looking for the next Millerverse or the next Netflix deal, the next Walking Dead. So they're not putting their best work into the comic book industry.
That's a problem.
Yeah, and the thing is that is so secondary for me, because I just love comics. It's been my whole life. But as a pipe dream, the Hollywood stuff is always there, and I think it is worthwhile to pursue. What I would like to do with Comicsgate as a collective, because I know this would work, and it did with Image Comics, is I actually signed with what is it? It's William Morris. Philip Morris is the tobacco. William Morris, and that's one of the leading Hollywood agencies out there, rep agencies. And the thing is, those Image books were selling millions of copies. So we were breaking down barriers, in Hollywood. And you start doing that, you start getting noticed. And so the one thing that Image has, or that we had, is there was cachet. And there was almost like collective bargaining. So what I would like to do ultimately, just as a pipe dream, not just as a complete aside, if we could get enough guys, because I already have representation, but I could get better representation doing it this way. If you could get enough top IPs, independent creator-owned books, and then you could go to a William Morris agency or another top, rep agency, and you could say, we have the top 10 books in the industry. Here they are. Would you be interested in repping them?
Mm-hmm.
They would. If like I said, it'd be collective bargaining. Like, I don't know if, I don't know. I can't think of a title right now. If they went on their own, I don't know if they could, they could have that kind of impact. But if you had some of the top book, like say Zach and Ethan and whoever else, they went in, because you could also start talking about numbers. You could go between, X, Y, and Z. They've brought in over $2 million worth of sales.
Crowdfunding, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All those type things. Then it looks impressive. Where if like I was to try to do it, it's impressive in this arena, but it's not impressive in their world. And you could do that, and it's kind of collective bargaining, I guess, for the lack of a better term. So I'd like to see something like that happen as well, because
Good idea.
Because then you could have like a pipe dream that would be beyond it. Because even if I got like crazy Hollywood money, I would still do comic books. Like, it's just in my DNA. You know what I mean? I'd never walk away from it.
It's just like the point I was making though about that thing is that it's so few of these new creators come in are making comic books for the sake of comic books.
Yeah, they're looking at the bigger picture, and it's pretty obvious. You can see the IPs it's tailored to more of a film audience than it is to a comic book audience. And I'll never be that way. I mean, my first love is always comic books, but I would be a fool. I guess it's leaving money on the tables not to look at every option.
I mean, I get looking into other options. I mean, look at Todd McFarlane, man. He took Spawn and turned it into an empire. Just the toy line. More people know about the toy line than they do the comic books.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But,
and then also, if you can get that kind of spotlight, like I know the Men in Black, that creator, I can't think of his name right now, but I almost guarantee when he sold that, he sold everything, because that guy never became the mouthpiece for his own IP. You never saw him go back to comics, and you never saw him kind of build off of that. And so what I'd like to see, if there are individual creators, like what's his the Ninja Turtles, the one guy really did.
Eastman and Laird.
Yeah, Eastman, Kevin
Eastman.
That guy brought all of that back and focused it back on comic books, and that's what I'd like to see more. Like Todd was still like Spawn's over here, but it's like let's aim it right back into the comics. Hellboy is the same thing. Mike was like, it's Hellboy, the movie, the cartoons, but the comic book has never stopped. So it's like kind of the back and forth kind of idea, and it could possibly help in the long run as well. It's just a matter of trying to get everything to connect, like the synergy, I guess that's the Hollywood term, to where it all kind of works at the same time and all work towards a common goal,
Yeah. But like then that was like just leading into the point that I made earlier. Like, I don't think that with very few exceptions, I don't think that there's anybody that's on that same level of someone like Todd or Jim, who could take something and like those Image guys. Those guys, like I said, those guys were freaking rock stars. And the industry just, the mainstream industry, the way it works, it just doesn't produce guys that are on that level of visibility.
Well, I just want to throw one thing out to you, okay, just to think about, Bob, is if the trend goes with the industry the way we're kind of thinking it might, and I hope it doesn't. I don't want this to happen, but if it does, then everybody's going to come over and do what I'm doing and what Zach and what Todd are doing.
Yeah.
So when that happens, that will be such a paradigm shift. It will get mainstream headlines. If you get big enough people, you get the Sean Gordon Murphys, or you get the Greg Capullos, along with all the Comicsgate greats like Ethan Van Sciver and Zach, your boy, and so on and so forth. it's going to happen.
So Art, you say that, and I agree with you. But okay, there's a caveat. But
there's always a caveat.
can we get rid of the labels and the nonsense and create our own community of creatives? Doesn't matter who you chose for president. It doesn't matter what, because sometimes you grow up in a house that's Republican, or you grow up in a house that's Democratic, and you take on some of those ideals, and that's who, it's not who you are. You are the artist of such and such. You are the creator of such and such. So can we get rid of all that nonsense and create a stronger community that you're jumping over on his channel, he's jumping on yours, and it's not about what you believe, it's about what you make.
That's the perfect world right there. The question is,
that's called utopia.
Can that be done though? That's the question.
Yeah. And I'm really happy Todd woke up. That was really nice.
To be fair, we do have a tendency to kind of just throw ourselves into every conversation, and everybody else is just kind of like trying to find that niche to get in there.
Well, you did mention the all-stars, superstars of image, and I the first thing came to my mind was everyone except Liefeld.
Oh, come on, man. Probably not bad. Dude, you know what? I'll be the first person to admit I used to be one of those people that used to give him so much shit.
Yeah, but the thing is that I used to too, Bob. I used to too. But the thing is, you cannot deny how successful he's been.
Oh, absolutely not.
And how good he is as a salesman, and how sociable he is, and he gets things,
Yeah, you do realize when I was a kid in the 70s, people bought pet rocks.
Yeah, I know. because my wife has two.
Yeah, some of this transcends beyond. There's people in the industry that have had this debate forever. Like, is Jack Kirby really a good artist? You know what I mean? Like, he's a highly stylized artist. There are some people that don't think he's that accomplished. They think somebody like Neil Adams is a million times better. So there's always been these conversations. But I remember talking to David Finch, and we were both in agreement that Frank Miller is a brilliant storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
He's not necessarily a great artist.
I think he used to be a much better artist than he is now.
Yeah, his Xerxes has gone downhill quite a bit.
Depends. It really depends on what standard that you hold him to. But he is definitely, like, hands down, the industry would completely agree that he is a brilliant storyteller. And with Jack Kirby, people would 100% agree that he is a creative juggernaut and was, and his legacy lives on. Whether he's a great artist or not, there's debate. So there are these things that exist. And to go back to Todd's question, is like the political aspects. With Comicsgate, there's no politics. It might seem like it on the surface, but everybody's welcome. It's not a Republican versus Democrat and vice versa. It is kind of more extremes that are trying to destroy what we know and love. It's not necessarily like you're this, that, or the other thing, and that's how you get in. There's a lot of people that are Democrats. There's a lot of people that are Republicans. There's a lot of people that are in the middle somewhere. So it's not really about politics. And one of the things that we've always preached, that where Mike Miller didn't quite understand it. I love Mike, but it's not politics. We shouldn't bring politics into the comics, because you can't rail against somebody that's bringing politics and agenda into a comic by putting your own agenda and politics into a comic book. So that's kind of been the mantra of Comicsgate from the very beginning, is that we try as much as possible not to bring that agenda into our books, our storytelling, because we want to sell to the widest audience as possible. And I don't want to limit any of these things. Because why would I want to? I don't look at anybody that might be the opposite of my beliefs as an adversary anyway. So I think most people that are putting out books right now Comicsgate books want to hit the widest array of people. And by picking a side and being political with your books, I don't think it's the way to do it. I think most
Yeah.
people agree.
Yeah, I think so too. And there definitely been some growing pains over the past year, a couple of years for sure. Without question. And hopefully things have settled down and we can kind of get back to it. I was really, I know I and many of the people on my show, my channel, we really were looking at 2020 as being a very positive, uplifting return to things. And things were kind of moving that way. And hopefully it'll still be that way. Unfortunately, we have kind of got broadsided by China. Thank you, China. But hopefully we can still see that toward the summer and the end of the year. But I hope personally that all of this will come together. And I hope that all those conversations that I'm well aware of that are happening behind the scenes will come to some fruition, and we can start seeing a more arrowed and directed.
Can I jump in real quick?
No,
Just real quick.
No.
Kenneth Rocaford, I love you. You're my favorite comic artist. I just realized you were in the chat. I just wanted to say.
That's awesome.
You're
right?
a wonderful, you're a wonderful
Are you
artist,
serious?
and I love you. Yeah.
Ken Rocaford is in the chat. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, dude, I'm about to fangirl.
I just did.
Humphrey Bear's here too. That's kind of important.
Oh, man.
Oh boy.
I just want to say that you pretty much inspired me to start getting into comics. I was going to do concept art, did concept art, saw your work in Madame Mirage, and I was like, no, I want to do comics.
Dude, I have bought comics I hated because his art was on it. It's like I bought comics I thought were crap because his art was in there.
Yeah. Yep. That's
Nice.
the same.
Hey, Kenneth, you're brilliant, and I hate you. That's all.
Oh my God, dude! I didn't realize, dude. If I saw that, I'd have been like fangirling a long time ago. And I'm saying fangirl because I'm like,
I wasn't going to really emphasize, but you have the young lad known as Zach Bradley geeking out on you right now, so that's cool.
You guys ever see those little sketchbooks he does with the 3 pens?
oh my God, dude!
I've been following ever since he started doing those year-long everyday sketches.
Oh, there's one thing that he did that was absolutely hilarious, where he drew this beautiful drawing on a piece of toilet paper. Did you guys see that?
Oh my God!
I don't know how the hell he did that. Like, that would take more patience than I have, because it's so absorbent. And he did it with markers. I think it's full color. So my hat's off to you, my friend.
I think the last thing I bought of his was he just did a couple of issues of Red Hood, and I hate that character.
Yeah.
But yeah, and there you go. This is what comic book fans are.
Oh, now Bob's geeking out. Look at Bob. He's losing composure. He's always the coolest guy at Comicsgate.
Dude, no, I'm a freaking comic. Like you said, I'm a comic book fan. I'm a nerd, man. When I meet the people that create these things, dude. The first time I got on to talk to you, man, I had to like kind of go, okay.
Just talk to art.
I got art. I've been collecting his comic books for freaking years, man. I bought Black and White back in 1995. So it's when I meet you guys,
toilet paper.
I freaking yeah. Look at that crap, man.
Sheesh.
And dude, like the freaking when I bought Sideways. One of the reasons I bought Sideways was he did a little on his Twitter. He did this thing where he was drawing the cityscape, and I'm just looking at it going like, I could never do that. I could never do that. I've been trying to become a comic book artist for like the last 20 years of my life. I could never draw a cityscape like that. It was insane. It was madness. So.
Man, Art, if you could get him in and we could talk to him, because I've always wanted to pick his brain, because I heard that, and if he's still here, he started as a graffiti artist and then became a comic artist. And that's why there's like this heavy sort of graffiti aspect to his work. And I always wanted to know if that was true. Yes.
Well, I can send him a link through Facebook if he wants.
he's probably going to like, oh God, I'm getting away from these nerds right now.
Oh, he said no.
He's like so what is it? Yes or no?
Okay.
I'm confused. No. Sorry, we're putting you on the spot, but I know the young lad would just drool all over you.
Forget the young lad. Talk about me.
We don't want that to happen.
By the way, I just dropped the link to Ken's Twitter in here, guys. Yeah, dude, and like he was saying, man, he does these sketchbooks, these little tiny 1.5-2 2-inch sketchbooks, and he fills them with some amazing stuff, man. I mean, it's just bad enough that he's this good on like normal size paper, but the guy can draw masterpieces of the size of a freaking postage stamp
on a
Yeah,
toilet.
they are small.
Yeah, he says he was a science illustrator, so that's why he's good with anatomy and all that. So I don't think he was graffiti. Because it's
really cool. That's super cool to know.
Everything's still right on.
That's why I hang around with you, Art, man. You attract people like this. So
yeah, how did? Wait,
Look at that.
Do you
That's
know?
pretty
Do you
good.
know
Look at
Ken?
that.
Kenneth, you know him? Have you ever met him?
Have I met him?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you could see Zach right now, Kenneth, he's doing.
You must have some sanitation wipes, right? Go get some.
hey, dude, I told you I got the hookup, man. I got cases.
God,
of stuff.
here we go. Man.
All right. Well, I don't want to make this all about Ken because he's here to listen to. So go ahead, Chester. What you were saying before I rudely interrupted you.
No, what
Notice
I
me,
was saying.
senpai.
Oh goodness. No, I was basically just talking about some of the growing pains we had over the past couple of years, and that I hope that we can start to focus and move forward. I understand that there have been some individuals that have that are more trouble than they're worth. I get that, but in general, I'm 100% on board with Art. I think that we should all work together. And with Todd's statement as well, I don't care what you think. I don't care what your opinions are. We are people who love comic books, and let's do that. Let's support comic books. And I think the indie revival, and I know I do avoid the word Comicsgate, and understand that I'm not anti-Comicsgate at all. A matter of fact, I'm Comicsgate day one. Right, I've been here since the beginning. I was actually on Ethan's channel before any of this started. It was Captain Cummins that got me over to Richard C. Meyer. But the thing that I always balked at was, and I've come to own it and deal with it now. But originally, I was very much against the gate thing because gate equals scandal, and for me, we are not the scandal; they are.
Mm-hmm.
They're the controversy. They're the ones who are making everything political. They're the ones who are being hateful. They're the ones that are, trying to get people destroyed, ruin lives, a la Mark Wade, and all the other ones like Gail Simone and all those. They're hateful people. And they are the Comicsgate, not us. But, people have decided to embrace that and make it something kind of like, Snowflake and Safe Space to have, which is important.
How dare you compare us?
But I mean, so I've come to accept it. So don't get mad at me for always using the indie revival. I have been Comicsgate day one. I just like I said. But the thing is, I'm 100% with what these guys are saying. We need to do more. We need to kind of come back to that happy kumbaya moment that we had in the beginning. And I think there's a lot of potential here. And I'm hoping that coming in the future, we'll see things grow and things become more and more positive, like they were when things started.
Yeah, and I do think that we are beginning to move towards that. I really do. I really do think that we're beginning to people are beginning to realize this thing is stupid. This division is stupid. We're all human beings, and we're all stuck on this ball of mud hurling through space. Okay, there's nowhere else to go. And
well, technically.
Don't even just start, man. Save that for your tinfoil talk show.
Hey, man, it's fun, man.
But
I did Einstein yesterday. It was awesome.
Yeah, I know. I had stopped in for a little bit. I was at work, but the thing is, man, and like I said earlier, man, nobody is going to their mailbox every day collecting a hate check. You know what I mean? We're not talking about these things and bringing these things up because we hate comics or we hate anything or we hate anything. We love the comics. We love comic book industry, and we want it to continue. And that's the motivation.
Yeah.
I mean, we spent the last couple hours even suggesting how possibly the comics industry could rebound.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
And
that's
I want the future to have more superstars like Kent. You know, like I said, when I was talking about how they don't really seem to build superstars anymore, he's one of those guys I was talking about that was the exception to the rule.
right.
Well,
And there are that. And the thing is, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I think that there is that fundamental paradigm shift that is going over into like the more crowdfunding areas, like what Zach and I are doing, and Ethan and your boy Zach. There's a lot of Zachs.
Sure. Mitch Brightweiser, Doug
Mitch.
Tanaple,
That's not his real name, though.
Dude, just to throw another big name out there, Ed Dennis. Ed Dennis just did a crowdfunded book called Ariel X Nina.
Yeah.
And all these numbers and all these crowdfunds are way more than they were 2 years ago. So there is growth and there is growth potential. And I think I should probably try to wrap this up. But I think for me, excuse me, the way the industry works is if one fails, it reflects, it's like a domino. But if somebody does well, it also dominoes into a good direction. So the thing is, nobody wants anybody to do bad because it's not. It's kind of like Comicsgate. Like we all advertise each other's platforms and stuff like that because we know it's mutually beneficial. Nobody wants anything in the industry to suffer or to not work well because it hurts everybody else too. So if everybody's buying comics and everybody's happy, and we're getting them in the hands of people, and we're selling millions of issues every month, then there's prosperity, and there's prosperity for everybody because it doesn't work in a vacuum. It just doesn't. The Image Comics, it started at Marvel, and then there was DC did the death of, and about that time we were, a group of us were moving over to Image and doing our thing, but everybody, Valiant, everybody, Dark Horse, everybody started, reaping the rewards. Everybody's numbers went up, not just Image, everybody's did. So the thing is, that's where we want to be. We want to be where everybody does well. And there's no reason why we can't. Because if we do, then there's going to be a collective energy that's being put out in the world versus just the small platform here or the small platform here. So you're talking about Image Comics, making all of us move. All of us move in that direction, and we'll bust down the doors, and we'll get these things into the mainstream, kids' hands, and we'll do all the above because that's the goal. And I don't think anybody is thinking they want this thing to end. I just don't. I don't think that's the case. Yeah. So should we do a parting shot since Bob is first up? You wanna give a parting shot, Bob?
Sure, man. Just real quick, I do have a YouTube channel. Please support that. I'm on Pontificators on Friday, like Art said, and I'm also on the Wrestling Council on Thursdays, 9 p.m. Kari Press, Antonio's channel, and on SMB Network. And just a little quick thing, man. Just a little piece of wisdom from the late Tupac Shakur, man. Just because you lost me as a friend doesn't mean you gained me as an enemy. I'm bigger than that. I still want to see you eat, just not at my table. Just because we got disagreements doesn't mean we have to be enemies.
Wow. Yeah. Bugbear's Basement too. You forgot that.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Thank Bob.
That's why he has you, Chester.
That's your channel, Chester. That's on you.
Thank
you.
All
right, Todd, you got a parting shot. Is Todd still around? Is he still alive? Or is he still naked?
I'm just waiting for all you to shut up.
So many questions.
Todd started the show nude. He was.
No. I don't know what this Bugbear Basement nonsense is, but I just wanted to say that keep an eye on what's going on, because there may be a call to action or some kind of help that people need. And it doesn't mean, we're gonna put up a GoFundMe to save a store, but maybe stores go to something like Midtown Comics does or whatever, and your local store, maybe they'll ship out to you. It might cost a little bit more. I don't know. I'm just throwing out speculation there, but keep an eye on it. don't give up on it. If this is your hobby and something that you like to certainly be a part of, a lot of people that this is a hobby of also want to work in it. And I've always been one to say, well, then get your ass up off the bench and join us, because there's room for everybody. And that being said, just put together a pro team. Put together a pro team of people, reliable people, and do it that way. Don't do anything half rear end.
Good said. Good said. Hey, how about you, Zach Bradley? Not Zach, your boy, but Zach Bradley.
Oh, thank you. You can find me on Twitter at Zach_DB. And right now I have my graphic novel, Golema, on Indiegogo, currently live. Please, if you like action, adventure, and semi-fantasy, I would say, go check it out. It's all there, and it's kind of painterly, as art has put it, and it's something different. And so, yeah, go check that out.
Oh, dude, you got to send me that black and white drawing that you did of my.
Oh, it's not finished art.
Was-
It's not finished. I'm
cool.
gonna finish it up. I'm getting it colored and everything.
I believe me, I'm gonna post that all over the place. That thing was coming out great. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you, because Friday night, I think you had it on your screen. There's one thing, the way StreamYard works is there's all your images underneath the main screen for me, but underneath there's another one, but I can't see that unless I scroll up. So I didn't see yours until the last minute, because you had it up for a while. So I wasn't ignoring it. I just didn't see it. So
No worries, Art.
yeah, draw my attention to it if you guys, because I think it's like if you're the last in the row, like if we had 6 people, like Chester, his screen share, I can see it. But if we had 6 people in the chat, that 6th one would be down in another, the lower row, and I wouldn't be able to see it. So I just want to let you know that I wasn't snubbing you. All right, let's go, Chester.
All right. Well, interesting conversation, impromptu pontificators, which is pretty cool. But I would leave with a parting shot of this. One of the things that's done over here in Japan that's been very successful is something akin to Shonen Jump. Now, there are many of these, not just one. And what they do is they take a whole bunch of stories, throw them in one big book, and release it. And I've always thought with the Indiegogo and Kickstarter model that this would be a very good way to get a lot of people's names out, especially if we had a big name on it, like Art or Ethan or something like that. And I'd like to see maybe some more progress. We were talking about this a couple of years ago, but it didn't go anywhere. I'd like to see some more of that. Beyond that, definitely come check me out in 2 hours, a little bit less than 2 hours, where I will be do comic books news today, of course, and we'll be continuing kind of similar conversations we've had here today. And you can find that on Chester Busby, or you can go to www.fanspeak.live. And looking forward to seeing you over there, guys. Thank you.
Very cool. And for me, I still have Chrono Mechanics in demand right now. And over the weekend, holy crap, I think we made $1,500 worth of sales. So we got a ton of backers there. So thank you guys very, very much. We just hit our 35K stretch goal, which means we're getting that movie script, that 116-page movie script into your hands. So my wife and I thought it would be cool to get those out now before the book comes back from the printers and things, just to give you something to read if there's anybody that has cabin fever right now. So if you haven't got your 116-page movie script yet, it's coming to you via WeTransfer, and it's a PDF. And some of these we've been told are going to people's spams. So if you don't have it on your main email page, check your spam folder. And I believe they all went out. So my wife, Pamela, put all those out. So if you haven't got your script yet, let us know and we'll resend it to you. So it's just our little way of trying to entertain you while everybody's kind of stuck at home here. So we have that. And also, this is going to be the last of my plug. This Wednesday, Vampirilla Black and White the crossover of the century variant cover. So Dynamic Forces and Hack Shack Studios have combined their IPs in one killer cover. So the fun thing is it's Vampirilla's 50th anniversary and it's Black and White's 25th anniversary. So how's that for symmetry?
Ooh.
Nice.
Sorry.
Oh
That's
my
awesome.
goodness.
We're going to lose Todd.
Pray
We
I
are.
survive. Pray.
Please
Well,
get
you know, old
Well-
people are more susceptible. So,
Thanks to everyone who came and watched, and it was a really good group of people. Maybe we can schedule a time to talk to you. We'd love to get some perspective from your side of things of the store and stuff, and what you like. How do you see things working out for you and your contemporaries and stuff? So maybe we can work something out for this Friday.
Yes, and my parting shot is big thanks to you, Todd. Todd just sent me this link and said impromptu, and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so I put up the bat signal in the Pontificators chat, and you guys all showed up. So this is kick-ass, man. So thanks to everybody on the stream, and thanks for everybody in the chat for showing up. It's been fun, and hopefully we can put some positive energy out there and come up with some solutions. So thanks, everybody. Have a good one. Take care. Talk to you soon.
later.